Hi everybody, it's November 11, 2019. I want to thank Mental Boost for posting this video because I may never have come across this broadcast of fires that are taking place in Australia as I speak, and you'll hear some very interesting things this woman and another woman have to say. Watch the affect and listen to the words, and you tell me if the affect of a woman coming up matches what she's saying. Are you tired of this? I am so tired. I am so unbelievably tired of watching the surreal war that is taking place. We all know that it's a war. We can't get through to other people. Or even, those who are awake and know, then you watch their affect and you watch what they do and they don't care. They don't care. And I'm surrounded by people like that. And I am so, it's an energy that is so draining. I need to be, I need something. I need something to keep going. It's so important for all of us to keep going. It's important for your own soul. It's important to continue on talking the truth. And I've said this for 8 years. Those who are still choosing willful ignorance, those who don't care, those who are just living their life and only wanting to have fun and they're all about their own pleasures, they need to be confronted. We're at war. People are dying. Life is dying. Four-leggeds are dying in the most horrendous ways. People are losing everything. More and more are falling off the cliff. It doesn't matter if it's in Australia or Greece or Spain or Canada or the United States. We're all in this together. Yeah, I do want to thank everybody who's posting. Sometimes it feels like, am I a fool for doing this? Am I a fool for continuing? Sometimes I get embarrassed for, essentially really caring. If you really care, there's a whole lot of people who laugh at you. They think you're crazy. Well, there's an awful lot of people who also get upset because, I guess I'm emotional. Some call it passionate. Whatever you hear. I happen to think that this is the appropriate response to what we are living. It's the appropriate response to what we are living. And if you don't feel what we are living, then you need to ask yourself, why? Why? My God. Okay, so, mental boost. First it's Australia, and then paradise. But listen to the descriptions that they are giving these fires.
We are in the midst of a bushfire crisis tonight, the likes of which this state has never seen. Right now, there are an unprecedented 17 fire fronts burning out of control at emergency level. The RFS believes people are trapped in their homes across multiple locations. Fierce fire is still burning at emergency level at Woodford. This fire is threatening homes south of the Great Western Highway, and residents are being urged to seek shelter as this fire approaches. Wind is causing tough conditions for crews, embers being blown ahead of the fire front, and they're also creating spot fires. Jane Azzopardi is with us now from RFS headquarters. Jane, there are fears now that people could actually be trapped inside their homes.
That's right, Deb. At multiple locations along the mid-north coast, we are hearing at this stage unconfirmed reports that there are people trapped inside homes and that fire crews are not able to reach these people. The advice for them is to stay inside, seek shelter inside and wait until the fire front passes, and then when it has passed, try to get away from that structure if it is burning. It is very grim advice to pass on.
While houses on the ground explode into fireballs.
Explode into fireballs. Wow. Are you serious?
Are you serious?
And peak temperatures of 2,700 degrees.
2,700 degrees Fahrenheit? Wow. Now that's quite an extraordinary wildfire, isn't it? Well, guess what? Wildfires do not get to that temperature. Here's paradise.
The emergency planners had divided the town into 14 zones. They would be evacuated in turn, depending on where the fire came from. 18 minutes after fire entered the town,
We've just issued mandatory evacuations for the entire town of Paradise.
I don't think anybody envisioned that happening.
The fire was swirling around the houses. It was coming in at all angles, defying any sense of gravity or any sense of, in my mind, what would be normal for a fire.
Is that normal for a fire? Oh, it was a fire tornado, Carol. It was a fire-nado. It just flipped that car. Really. It's hard, guys. It's hard, what we're living. Another car. So wildfires do not burn like this. They don't leap over trees and burn houses. Now, I'm sure for those who post, who have been saying the same thing over and over and over again, year after year after year, well, it does get exhausting. This is hard to take. So, and I believe this is paradise. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not posting this. I'm not doing this over. You can deal with my emotions or not. If you can't, just don't watch my videos. The lack of care that I'm dealing with here in real life, it's a burden because when people don't care, and you do, you can't walk away from certain things, which I'm going to be posting a video on. They end up, the people who don't care, end up placing a heavier and heavier burden on those who do care. And those who can't just sit by and not face, the injustice of what is taking place around you. And it's a heavy burden. And I'm not even talking about me. I'm talking about those that I speak to. Well, this is paradise. Burning up the whole town in 24 hours. And that's why it's very upsetting, because there are so many obviouses taking place now that you would think in a healthy brain, one would beg questions. One would question. Everything now that is taking place begs questions. Oh, and it's not just the frequencies, and it's not just the poisons. It's that the individual in the aggregate lacked the courage to stand up, to speak out, to be real in their own lives, to speak the truth, their own truth. They lacked the courage because primarily at the basis of that fear is abandonment. They're afraid to be abandoned. They're afraid they're going to be called names by those in their social network. They're afraid they're going to be a conspiracy theorist, labeled as such. They're afraid. They're little children. They're little children. And I want to ask every one of them, what does your life mean? What does your life mean? When you go along to get along, when you feel like you always have to be nice, when you don't care and you demonstrate that on a daily basis, you demonstrate it on a daily basis by what you do every day. You can tell yourself, oh, how much you care, till you're blue in the face. But you don't, because you demonstrate what you care about. And from what I see, most care about their own little life. Don't care about others. They don't care about life. Little children looking for pleasure, always. Let me just play my games. I'm so tired of it, guys.
That there are people trapped inside homes and that fire crews are not able to reach these people. The advice for them is to stay inside, seek shelter inside and wait until the fire front passes, and then when it has passed, try to get away from that structure if it is burning. It is very grim advice to pass on.
While houses on the ground explode into fireballs.
I hate watching this. Incinerated. The Air Force blasted missiles out of the sky with a friggin' laser beam that could one day arm fighter jets one day, as if those fighter jets are not armed already. They have been using directed energy weapons for decades. And what was astounding was to see all of the mainstream media articles talking about how directed energy weapons are still in their research stage. That was last year after Paradise, because too many people were talking about directed energy weapons. So they had to post for the ignorant masses. Don't jump on that train, directed energy weapons, because they're just in research. They're at the research stage. The idiocy that we are surrounded by is dangerous because it's killing life. That idiocy, the ignorance, U.S. Army to test 50 kilowatt laser weapon that incinerates. Incinerates. Interesting word. Incinerates drones, helicopters, planes, missiles, and, well, how about houses? So this is a very good video. I'll play a few minutes of it. I will link below to everything. You can watch everything.
Recent numbers tell us
You can watch in full everything. But I'm sorry for the volume, and I'm sorry for the not polished videos that I post, and I'm sorry for my emotions, and I'm sorry. I'm just sorry. Why am I sorry? Hell if I know.
that 88 people have died. 631 people are missing. and over 13,000 homes have been completely destroyed by the strange fire in Paradise, California. And more than half of this damage occurred within the first 4 hours.
You said that your outbuildings and your house and the houses around you all started to burn at once.
I know that all my stuff started to burn at once, and then my neighbor right across the street, dozens of fires sprang up all around me and below me without, they're far in front of the fire line without any falling burning embers.
Completely ignored by the mainstream media, the anomalous nature of this fire is being reported on by only a few independent journalists. Recently, Shelley Lewis from Supposedly Shelley interviewed 2 California firemen about the strange anomalies they have been seeing firsthand in Paradise. In the trailer park, the steel frame foundations, only a foot off the ground, were all completely warped, bent, and mangled. Every car and truck was completely torched. Every single rubber tire was burned into oblivion, and all that remained was the steel belt system from within. The temperatures were hot enough to melt aluminum. They were hot enough to melt glass. And they were hot enough to decimate every single last thing inside the home, which makes these fires at least 3 times hotter than your average house fire. And yet some things were inexplicably untouched by the super intense heat. Pristine carports with torched automobiles beneath them, next to homes completely burned to ash. Plastic trash cans untouched.
Does that not beg questions? Of course, it does. You show this to somebody who wants to remain with their ignorance, who's all about themselves, doesn't really care. They will deny that this begs any questions. Wow. Sydney, Australia.
Sydney, Australia. Here we go again. This is just 10 minutes after I filmed that previous one about the 5G network. And then we get this guy. He's just appeared out of nowhere. Appeared out of nowhere for me. God love him.
So, when you think about all of the incendiary substances that they are spraying, that, yep, they spray it up there and it falls down. Down onto houses, down onto trees, making these fires burn out of control, very, very hot. But when you see these, well, anomalies, when you see homes that are obliterated, incinerated, cars, glass melting, the metal, aluminum melting, but the garbage can completely clean, by the way. Oh, those winds are making those fires grow out of control. But there's no ash even on the top here? Nothing? Completely clean? Okay. This bush right here, trees, we've seen this over and over and over again. Well, when we see that they are spraying incendiary substances that fall down on trees, you would think that the trees would burn up. Which, well, that's just more evidence of the fact that they are using directed energy weapons. Not just here in California, but all over. This is an unconventional war. They are using unconventional weapons. Just because they're unconventional with the technology that we have today, yes, they are using new weapons. And people staring at their smartphones and their iPhones. Well, that's a new technology. They can accept the technology that is right smack in their hand, but they somehow don't, they laugh at you when you say directed energy weapons being used against us. And this is Melbourne, I think? Yes, Melbourne, Australia. Yeah, that's just a normal contrail that lingers. And wow, well, that sure does look like, well, what? It's on fire? Or is that a chemical in that contrail? So, this is the result.
The devastating aftermath. Australia's drought-stricken east coast ravaged by wildfires, leaving many thankful to be alive.
The fireys were great. If they wouldn't have come and knocked on the door and told me when to get out, I may not have actually got out in time. It happened so fast.
I lost nearly everything. My structure is still there, but today it's taken off again. So it's, as you can see, I'm feeling for everybody.
State of emergency. Properties destroyed and thousands evacuated.
The fires have led to deaths and dozens of injuries. They have eased, but many continue to burn, like this one at Bill's Crossing near Crowdy Head. Flames burning bright in the trees and thick smoke racing across the sky. The country's Prime Minister has been in New South Wales visiting those evacuated from their homes. The pain for some, too much to bear.
We're not out of this yet. There's still a long way to go, and Tuesday is looking a lot more difficult. And that's not only just true here in New South Wales. We know of the similar types of conditions we're seeing in Western Australia on Tuesday as well. So while we're seeing a very outstanding state effort here in New South Wales, there is a coordinated effort going across the country in the other places where there is danger.
The threat of further firestorms hangs heavy in the air, with winds set to strengthen. Australia's largest city, Sydney, now in danger. The fear, the worst is yet to come. Liz Summers, ITV News.
Sydney is now threatened by these fires. I just want to show you that, look at this fence here, this post. Do you notice that the fire is here and the fire is up here? Why? Directed energy weapons, frequencies, metal is a conductor. Metal attracts frequencies. This is where the metal, the nails or the screws or whatever, were put in to hold the rails. That's why you see fire here and here. So,
a state of emergency has been declared for the whole of New South Wales as bushfires continue to burn out of control, and conditions are expected to get worse. High winds and searing temperatures are forecast across the state. 3 people have already died, more than 150 homes have been destroyed, and almost 1 million hectares have burned across the state. Australia correspondent Connor Witten is in Rainbow Flat, one of the worst affected areas south of Port Macquarie. And Connor, you arrived there today. What have your first impressions been?
Well, Ingrid, the scale of destruction is instantly clear. Just a few days ago, this house behind...
Sorry, don't know. Let's see. Well, you can click on the link below. This is happening more and more frequently now to me. Okay. So, yep. State of emergency declared in New South Wales. Isn't it interesting that you have, well, on that map it showed four supposed bushfires in Australia along the coast in 4 separate areas at the same time. That begs questions. This begs questions. This picture, look at this. This car was actually incinerated. Incinerated. But what? Well, look at everything around it. Look at everything around it. Looks like the tires have been gutted. But you've got dead limbs that have not burned up. And what is somebody saying here? Mainstream media. Unprecedented wildfire danger. Climate change. It's due to Australia not taking more action to counter climate change. This is what they come out with. While the fires are still burning, they don't have any cause of the fire yet. That hasn't been established, but it's climate change. How did they get to that? What if all of these fires were an arsonist who started them? Is it climate change? Obviously not, right? An arsonist went around starting these huge fires. So it's not climate change. So they don't have a cause established yet, but it's climate change. That begs questions. How can they come out and say it's climate change when they don't know the cause of the fire? Do we have adults in our countries that can think anymore? Or have their brains just been taken over by mainstream media? They believe whatever their authorities say. This war is getting out of hand. And yes, I'm sorry to say this, but the ignorant around you, the willfully ignorant, are our main enemy. Rural firefighter blames authorities for catastrophic Australian bushfires. How many more lives? What does he say? It doesn't matter, firefighter Tyson Smith, who volunteers in Queensland, issued an emotional plea on Facebook, which has since gone viral, receiving over 4,000 likes, nearly 6,500 shares. Is that viral? I don't know. But he lashed out as he asked, how many more homes and lives have to be destroyed before the government acknowledges they are to blame for halting fuel reduction burns, including controlled burning and mechanical clearing. Now, I'm not saying that that is, one of the factors that lends itself to these firefighters going into areas burning up homes. Why, then, with all of these fires that have been happening for years, disastrous fires, why are governments instituting policies that will bring the fires to these areas? It doesn't make sense. These enviro authorities that put a stop to reduction burns need to be held personally accountable for the losses people have endured. People have lost their lives as a direct result of the decisions made by the environmental authorities because they need that plausible deniability. They need to enact policies that bring the threat of these fires into areas where they would not ordinarily go due to these reduction burns. It's all to get people to place their belief in climate change and policies that have gutted these controlled burns. So you won't look at directed energies, these weapons being used.
But the way that all the cars were exiting after I finally got a tire put on my truck. The reason why I was doing that is because my dog was in the truck and I didn't want to leave my dog behind. So by the time I was able to get the tire on the truck and I went to go north like I originally was, I was going right back into the fire again, and behind me was already burnt. So I just went south through all the burnt areas. So I went through the whole town of Paradise from top to bottom and saw everything that was burnt that was left behind. And I met up with the first responders of the fire crew at probably upper end of Paradise by Fast Trip gas station, outdoor bar area, Vader Mine. And the cars that were lined up on there, they were all in the right lane. I was kind of expecting to see them in both lanes and all over the place,
all
but
going
they were
down,
all in the right lane, stacked up, just going all the way down, and then all the roads coming in from the sides, same thing, all in the right lane, all the way, every single road basically coming into Skyway.
Were people in the cars? Were they just stopped, or why were the cars there?
I was looking for people in the cars at first, and I took a glance and said, okay, nobody there, and then I got to one where I saw something that caught my eye that looked kind of weird because it's hard to identify a body in a car. I had looked and it looked like somebody was sitting down on the floorboard, like there was no seat there, like sitting really low in the car, and then I realized that, oh shit, you know,
like they melted.
Yeah, the person's because the seat is burnt underneath them, so they sunk down really low.
Flash,
and I was looking for people at like normal head height that you'd see somebody in a car that was unburnt. So I started noticing that these vehicles did have people on them.
So people were sitting there, they're stuck in traffic, and then they got torched.
Yeah, they were just down lower, so then I knew what to look for, and then I started seeing people in on the vehicles because I knew what it looked like for somebody to be in a vehicle that was burnt. And then I came across a school bus that was there, one of the big school buses, and
a yellow school bus? Or?
Yeah, and I was because I was looking in the cars and stuff, seeing, you know, which cars had bodies, and see how many, because I was curious on how many bodies there were. And when I saw a school bus, that's when I quit looking. I didn't want to look in it, so I just turned my head and made sure that I didn't look inside of it. I didn't want to see inside of it.
But you
Yeah. If you find yourself in a flash flood, if you find yourself in one of these fires, you might be thinking, who knows what, it's about survival, but I could imagine getting really angry at all of the people who sat around doing nothing. Because that is what is letting these psychopaths do whatever the hell they want to do with us. And, you know, when I think about all of the people who are already suffering the consequences, and then you can triple that, quadruple it. How many four-leggeds, all life, all the trees, plants, everything having to suffer the consequences of these psychopaths. I don't know.
Burned out. There's dead bodies in there. They're all burned. Every fucking one of them. See the bones and blood seats. These people got burned. burned out in the car like I almost did. Dead, dead, dead. Everybody here is dead.
Don't know what happened.
Here, and my friend, as the car's on fire, you can see he's dead, and his mother.
All right. You know, the question is, when they come to digest that which you hold precious, how will you respond? Is fighting back impossible? Or is it preferable to slavery? Is dying for a better tomorrow a fool's errand? Or the only errand we are put on this earth for? These are questions that need to be answered, and answered soon. The time left to ponder them is running out. This is another article, Brandon Smith. There are things worth fighting for, and fates far worse than death. And another really good article. They want to reinvent civilization and mold it into a homogenized and highly micromanaged global hive. Within this collective, they see themselves as not only the future masters of social evolution, but also as demigods that are worshipped by the masses, and they are willing to do almost anything to achieve the end game. The globalists are, in fact, a stark example of tightly organized psychopathy. In other words, like a criminal cartel or cult, they are a group of psychopaths that have unified their efforts to become more efficient predators. And like many psychopaths, they have conjured elaborate philosophical explanations for their aberrant activities to the point that they seem to have developed their own disturbing brand of religion. There comes a moment in the life of many liberty movement activists or analysts when they are confronted with this reality. The reality that we are not fighting a faceless system that was built passively by mistake or built in the name of mere random greed. What we are really fighting are very evil people with psychopathic desires to dominate and destroy, attempt to change the system without removing the cabal behind it, and you will fail every time. This is where we hit a wall of indecision and find ourselves at an impasse on solutions within the movement. There are even some people who argue that nothing can be done. This, of course, is a lie. If you think that, you've been brainwashed to believe it. The only problem is, there are a few of us. And from hearing from many of you, you too are surrounded by people who don't give a shit about anything. Self-centered. Oh, they call themselves wonderful things. They call themselves Christians. They call themselves spiritual. Oh, they care, they care, they care. Watch what they do. Don't listen to what they say. Watch what they do. And what they do tells you what they care about. Fighting to survive. Survival in itself is meaningless. We don't fight to succeed. We fight to survive. That's what we're left with because of all of those who surround us with their bad energy that doesn't lift up. It actually drains you of your own energy. What kind of world will your children be coming back to, their children, when survival is the only thing? Oh, get up on, that mountaintop and you're going to survive. Hey, shit hits the fan. What are you coming back to? There's no point. And I'll end with this. It is absolutely true. Do you know what you are willing to die for? I am willing to die for truth. I know it. I can say it. I'm grounded in it. I'm willing to die for truth, for freedom. What are you willing to die for? You might want to also check out this video. Globalist elites are not human. They are psychopaths. Trump is a psychopath. Virtually everybody in our government are treasonous psychopaths. And we have so many in the awake crowd who still are so stuck in the matrix, and they are quite convinced that somehow you can get somewhere by one guy in the White House fighting the deep state. Even if Trump was real and not lying compulsively, which is he does every single day, even if he was someone who cared about you, do you think one man in the White House is gonna overturn a cabal that has so entrenched itself in every government, virtually every government on this planet? It's so one guy ain't gonna do it. It was left to us. It was left to us. All links are below.